John Fones here, your NEC rep, but also your chair of the UCU branch, currently at Bridgewater and Taunton College branch, and I hope by the end of September we will have established ourselves as a newly merged branch across the University Centre Somerset College group. What a mouthful, eh? I wanted to talk to you this afternoon really about two things. You will know, I'm sure, that UCU, like most other organisations that support employees, most other trade unions, we are a democratic organisation. And that means that we invite and really we desperately need the cooperation of all members. And that means voting, it means making your voice heard, and it means taking part in any discussions about actions that might be taken or decisions that are taken on behalf of the branch. So please do respond to any emails that come out asking you to take part in polls and so on. There will be a couple more of them coming your way very, very shortly. Thank you very much, first of all, to those people who have already signed up and voted in the poll with regard to our local subscription. You will remember that we need to bring our subscriptions into line with Strode College branch, and until we have done that, we can't merge the two college branches. We have already submitted to the regional office a request on your behalf because of the poll that many of you signed up to previously. So we've already submitted a request to say we want to merge with the Strode College branch, but we are prevented from doing so if we don't have the same local subscription. So you will have seen the previous email about that. A good number of you have already voted, and there is a very strong indication in one direction at the moment, but that should not stop the rest of you from voting in this poll. If you cannot find the previous email, there will be another email coming out very shortly. Indeed, the link to this brief address to you is probably in the same email. So please do make sure you respond to that, and let's make sure that we are listening to the voices of all our members, not just those people who think it's important to take part and to be active in meetings from time to time. So that was one decision that has to be made. And we will take that decision to the National Further Education Committee on the 26th of September. Many of you will know that I am a member of that national committee, and I will be supporting the applications from both Strode and Bridgewater and Taunton College branch in that meeting with colleagues from other colleges, other further education, adult education and prison education colleagues from the whole of the UK, in fact. Although when we come on to the next part of this discussion, I will not be talking about the whole of the UK except with reference to other parts of the UK. But what I mean by that is we are just about to launch another consultative ballot. We did have a consultative ballot back in June, which indicated that a considerable number of people did want us to take part in the national dispute and the national action, which is coming along very shortly. The new consultative ballot is to some extent a repetition of that, and it's because we are now looking to include every single college in England in this ballot. Let me give a little bit of explanation as to why I'm talking now just about England. If you are a lecturer in a further education college in Scotland, you will find that shortly your starting salary will be, I think, £46,000 starting salary. And that is for every single further education lecturer, that is to say teacher, in every single further education college across Scotland. That has been nationally negotiated in Scotland. If you are in Northern Ireland, they negotiate nationally. If you are in Wales, in a Welsh college, UCU negotiates nationally with the Welsh government in order to achieve a pay deal which is the same for colleagues in every single Welsh college. But in England, it's different. And it's different largely because of the law that changed 32 years ago now. 33 years ago was the actual law, what was known as the Higher Education and Further Education Act of 1992, which came into force in 1993 and which allowed college principals to take their colleges into independent, what was known as incorporated status. And that meant that every single college was then run by a principal who was trying to establish her or his own mini empire, if you like. We sometimes use the word fiefdoms in this respect. And the result of that, of course, is that every single college in England has a different pay structure. And because they have different pay structures, the principals will continue to argue that their own colleges are significantly different from the college just down the road. And that's why they need to pay differently. That's why they perhaps can't afford to pay what one or two other colleges are paying. They certainly can't afford to pay what school teachers have, and so on and so on. What UCU is attempting to do is to move this discussion on completely from this incorporated independent nonsense. There are some people who will support that sort of idea. Certainly I had a discussion with Ashley Fox, our MP, when I was in Westminster during the last academic term. And he certainly thinks it's a good idea because, of course, Tories would actually go for anything that allows for competition and the business model and sets one group of people against another. That's their way of doing things. They think it improves things. It certainly hasn't improved anything for further education teaching staff, or indeed the other staff in further education. So what we are looking for is a very strong vote in support of the national campaign, which is now being mounted, which is asking for a number of things. I will send out details of this again, but it is a significant boost to our salary that we're looking for. And of course, it's always couched in terms of percentages. And we want to get rid of this eventually, because if you just talk about percentages, what makes a reasonable pay deal in one college with, say, 6-7% is going to be a pretty awful deal in another college just a few miles down the road that doesn't pay anything like as well so far. So we have a college like City of Bristol where people who are on the lecturer scale can be paid up to around 40,000, and a college like ours where it is considerably less, and a college like, I think, Wiltshire, where people are on sort of 27, 28,000, these sorts of figures. It's very, very difficult to get exact details about this unless we start looking at adverts for jobs and so on, which we have done in the past and which we can do again, but which any of you could do, quite honestly. So what we're looking for is a rationalised, and I would say a nationalised system again, where colleges don't poach staff from each other because they can pay better or offer different conditions of service, because everyone will be paid the same, everyone will be on the same pay scale, everyone will have the same conditions of service, and everyone will know that they are getting the same deal. And this is what we want in our new deal for FE. So please, please think about that and give us your support. It does mean that we are looking for parity still. About 3 years ago, we used to say that we were about, on average, £9,000 a year worse off than our colleagues teaching very often exactly the same things in the school sector. I'm afraid I have to tell you that it's now on average considerably more than that in terms of a disparity. There will be, if you look at your local schools, you will find colleagues there who are earning £10,000–11,000 more than you are and actually teaching effectively the same thing. Now, of course, there are some things we teach in a further education college which are not generally taught in schools. Clearly, they don't teach very much about nuclear technology in schools, and most schools certainly don't teach much about agriculture, but we do have one local school that definitely does do that. However, there is still a huge disparity between what school sector colleagues earn and what further education colleagues earn, and you will not find this being addressed by the current government. The Secretary of State, Bridget Phillipson, prides herself on the fact that she was herself at a comprehensive school. Yes, she was, but she did extremely well there herself. She was obviously extremely bright, and she went to one of the what is said to be one of the best universities in the world. She went to Oxford. So she knows about schools from her own personal experience. She knows about Oxford from her personal experience. She knows about universities. But does she know about further education colleges? She seems not to know anything about further education colleges. So we need to make sure that she hears us loud and clear when we say that we want to be treated with the same degree of fairness that school teachers have, and indeed teachers in sixth form colleges. Now, of course, some people have been coming to me this term and saying, why can't we be treated the same as school teachers? Why can't we be treated the same as our colleagues in sixth form colleges? And I'm afraid the answer is startlingly clear. Schools went on strike. School sector colleagues went on strike. They threatened to carry on striking. The sixth form college colleagues threatened to go on strike. And what happened? They got more money. School teachers were offered 5.5%. People in other industries were offered higher percentages than that to get them off the government's back. Just think the National Health Service for a start. Think of resident doctors, junior doctors as they used to be referred to. But when you think about us, we have not actually had any coordinated national action for getting on for 3 years now. And that's why we get treated like dirt, quite honestly. So we need to make sure that we are showing the government in particular how strongly we feel about this. Now, unfortunately, we have to take action against our own management in order to do this. This is what is called a disaggregated ballot. That is to say, we ballot college by college because those are our employers. However, what we are trying to do is to ensure that our principals, our managers will actually buy in to the concept of binding national negotiation, which means a whole new negotiating structure and not the nonsense that we have nowadays with the Association of Colleges, where we have the utterly cynical approach of, I believe, the chair of the AOC salaries or negotiating committee, whom I sat opposite last year when I was a further education national negotiator. And I could see them offering, I think it was a ludicrous 2% last year, knowing full well that that particular principal went back to their own college and offered more because it looked better for him. You know, it's an utterly cynical and quite honestly nonsensical set of arrangements. What we need is proper national bargaining. We need national bargaining which is binding on every college, and we need the appropriate funding to go with it. That's a difficult square to circle or a circle to square, depending on which way you look at it. But the government needs to get to grips with it. They've got another 3.5 years still in power. they can actually do something about this. They are meant to be producing legislation which deals with this, but they are being extremely vague, and I don't think they're going to do it until we hold their feet to the fire. And the only way we can do that is by threatening to take national action. Action in each employer, coordinated across all college employers. Now, we don't want a single branch to be pulling out of these negotiations and undercutting the national organisation, or pulling the rug out from underneath the feet of those other branches, those other colleagues just up the road perhaps, who are definitely wanting to take part. I certainly don't want another college saying they don't want to be part of this action and undercutting the stance that our colleagues here in Bridgewater and Taunton College and Strode College branches will, I hope, want to take. So you will shortly be receiving yet another request for a consultative ballot. We need to demonstrate that we have got really at least 60% of people voting for this. City of Bristol College, they had 70% of people voting just in June when the ballot was sent out at an absolutely dreadful time across a half term. But City of Bristol College still did it, and they are a very, very large college. So if they can get 70% of people, we could aim to get 70% of people voting in this. If we get that, then, and we then get that translated into the national postal ballot, then we are home and dry. But of course, if we do decide to take action, and we decide that we can take industrial action on the basis of a large majority, that gives us a very, very strong negotiating hand to sit down with principals of all colleges, and indeed with the principal of our own college. Yes, colleagues, you do have to be prepared to take industrial action. And that doesn't just mean cheering on those people who are taking action and then going into college at the same time. No, it doesn't mean that. It means you have to be prepared to take action. But the more people who are prepared to take action, the less you will need to take action, because we will have a lot of power in our back pockets. We will have that negotiating power, and the managers will actually know that we're strong as a result. It will also give us more strength when we sit down in casework meetings. Yesterday, I was at a meeting when I was helping to arrange a flexible working arrangement for a colleague. I've been asked to do the same thing for another colleague, and I will be speaking to that colleague later on today. We spend a lot of our time as union reps sitting alongside colleagues and arguing that they should be getting something out of the discussions they're having, even in some cases if it's a disciplinary discussion, and so on. All right. So we are there to support you, but we can only do that if we have everybody else's support. I know I've been looking at timetables this morning, and there are colleagues in a couple of departments who are already being timetabled over the recommended average for weekly hours. Weekly hours should be 23 hours and no more if you are a lecturer. If you are on more than 23 hours, it may be that you're being asked to do 25 hours, but you're being told you will never do any cover because you've already done your extra 2 hours. But actually, that's not in the agreement. That's not in the recognised agreement that we have. That's not in the collective agreement that we have with the college. The collective agreement, which is shown in your staff handbook, is that you will do no more than 2 hours per week of cover, and only 18 hours of those 72 hours altogether, only 18 of those hours can be taught cover. The rest of the time you are expected to go in, take a register, and give the work to the students that they probably have already got through Teams from their lecturer. So I don't want to make too much of that issue. What I do want to do, however, is to alert you to the fact that there will be these 2 requests for you to vote coming through. As I said, UCU is a thoroughly democratic organisation, and you need to make sure that you are taking part in that democratic process, that you are making your voice heard. I urge you, please, to vote, vote, vote. Vote early. Don't wait until the period of time, probably 2-3 weeks, has passed. Make sure you vote as soon as you receive your printed ballot paper, but that will not happen until we have had our consultative ballot first, and that will be coming out to you at the beginning of next week. So I wish you all a good weekend, colleagues. I hope that you enjoy yourselves, have a relaxing time, possibly with your family. But when you come back next week, I hope you will be taking very careful note of the messages that you receive from your UCU branch team, and I hope that you will be voting to take part in the national campaign and the nationally coordinated action across all colleges in England. Thank you very much, colleagues. Goodbye for now.